So I was ultimately a byproduct of those early close tolerance blanks, because the rocker hand shaping really was not that difficult once you have done your couple hundred boards, right? So the rockers were all there. It was like, get your templates dialed, get your rail somewhat close, get your concaves in there, and then the rest of it is, glass job, sand job, all that stuff. So when Clark Foam went out of business, that was I couldn't get blanks. I was a nobody, right? So that first year, and maybe it was right before that, but everything started shutting down and no one could get foam, and I didn't know where I was going to go. And all the guys at Diamond Glass and who I'd been looking up to were like, look, kid, you got an opportunity to go back to school. Get the heck out of surfboards. You're just going to be a loser at the end, and you're never going to make it. You're going to be like us, salty and angry. This is your chance to get out, man. Just get out, go to school, whatever. And I'm like, these are the guys I look up to. And they're like, trust me, man, the work, it comes and goes. It's a freaking feast or famine business. So that was my first learning of that. And I went into that summer or whatever that year, and I remember sit down in the office with Rusty. And by the way, I had been working with Marcio a lot too. And Marcio was giving me a lot of good advice too, just in life, And Rusty was like, well, look, man, when I was young, you probably made a little money this summer, didn't you? What are you doing with your money? Yeah, I don't know, just stashed away in my van. I got like a little safe locked in there. I wasn't paying rent. I was making like $200 a day every day of the week. And I'm like, I had a wad of cash. He's like, I hear the guys in Australia got blanks and they need work. So he's like, I'll connect you with this guy, Rusty Australia. I remember telling Sharp Eye, I was like, dude, I'm going to Australia and I'm going to work for Rusty. That was my trip. I can be, if I do that, I can come back and I can be an in-house guy. That was like my little plan that summer at least. And so he gave me the phone numbers to those guys. Turns out they were in Margaret River. It was in West Australia at the time. I had a buddy who was doing a study abroad in Perth, like a really close friend of mine. And I'm like, I'm going to Australia. I got the money. I'm buying the ticket. I bought one-way tickets. I got a one-way ticket. I'm going to go to the Gold Coast first. And I had a friend of a friend. I went to Kira. I got Kira super good. I made a channel bottom board. I surfed. I took a bus from Kira down to the Gold Coast to Byron Bay, all the way back to Sydney. And long story short, I always wanted to travel, and that was always the goal. So it was like, I just got to get the next job to travel. So I was living my childhood dream already. And I bought a ticket to West Oz. I get to Perth. My buddy has this ute they call them, and it was like some station wagon. I was like, we just got to put a mattress in the back, and we can live rent free. So I did this for 3 months. And it's like, at some point, I got to get to Margaret River, and I got a job when I run out of money. Rusty's Preisendorfer is going to hook me up. He talked to the guy for me. I'm like, just an idiot. We go to Narlu, all the Northwest, camped out, scored Red Bluff, all these waves, and it was like, holy crap, this is like Bunyip dreaming, And so then we make our way back down to Margaret River, surfed the box, surfed all these spots, went all the way far south. There was like a shark attack, and like did the whole, got to experience all this stuff. And now I'm going broke. I contacted the Rusty Australia, and they're like, yeah, mate, hey, I remember that was like months ago Rusty called. What took you so long? Just surfing. And yeah, you can get it. We can put you to work. But yeah, we relocated. We're in Sydney.
Yep.
Fuck. I'm broke. I got no money. So I went to a local grape farm trying to get a job picking grapes I was that broke. And I couldn't call my parents for help. It was just too embarrassing. They were already saying I'm an idiot. So I'm like at this farm trying to pick grapes and like, look, kid, you don't have a work visa. We can't hire you. Huh? Like, just under the table, right? No, we're not going to do this. Is a professional business. I'm out of money. I can't go make it to Sydney. So I ended up going to Sydney. Actually, I ended up making it over there. And I did end up, there was a couple QSs in Australia at the time, and I had a couple connections, and I started making some boards with, at the time, this is kind of mixing the years up a little bit, but I started making some boards for Bin Bourgeois and a couple guys.
Yep.
I did like one board and he liked it. And so I had the connection. Let me make you a board if you're in Australia. So at the time I like went to a local factory, this guy Mick Button in Sydney, and did a couple boards for like Bin Bourgeois, Gabe Kling at the time. There's another guy, Asher Nolan, a bunch of East Coaster guys that were on the tour.
Yeah.
And that was like my big, like, okay, I'm doing it, you know?
Were they writing Xanadu's?
They were getting boards from a bunch of guys,
okay.
you know, and they were picking up boards in Australia too.
Gotcha.
But Bin Bourgeois had a surf shop in Wilmington, North Carolina. His dad ran. So that was like, okay, if I can get them riding boards, maybe the surf shop will carry my brand. And eventually it did. But that initial trip, I blew through all the money I made. And then I'm running out of, I have no money. I'm like, I have to go home. I'm out. I got to go back to my parents. Like I'm broke. I've been living in my van for like a year and a half now. I got no money. I'm a bum. I'm a surf bum. But I've now like kind of like learned the basic skills on how to build surfboards. I learned how the business works. And I'm going to move back into my brother's house, which was, and my old man was like, look, we'll help you out with, if you go back to school, we'll help you out with the school thing, but you got to finish it. And you can't just keep bailing and doing the surfboard gig, because it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And it was like my whole dream of like, I got to prove them wrong.
Right.
And on my way home, I'm like all sad thinking like I failed. You know, I did this great trip, but I kind of failed because I went through all my money. And I looked at my layover ticket and it was in Fiji. I didn't even see it yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had pre-bought the tickets like whatever, 3 months before, after I had got there. And then I was like, I'm out of money. I'm going to Fiji. I'm getting off the plane. There's no way I'm not going to surf Cloudbreak in these places. Because back then you couldn't surf Cloudbreak, but you could on weekends.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't staying at Tavarua, obviously,
right.
But
on the weekends, the government made them open it up to tourists.
I contacted a friend in Australia who was in Australia. The guy was staying. I said, dude, you got to lend me some money. I'm good for it. I'll pay you back. He goes, bro, I got $300. So he sent me he gave me $300. And I'm like, I don't know how it feels like a wire transfer or something back then, but somehow I got it in my bank account. I didn't tell my parents I was broke. I didn't even tell them I was coming back right then. And I get off the plane with $300 in my boards, and I walk off the airport in Fiji solo. And I'm like, I gotta figure out how to get to Cloudbreak with $300. I found a hostel in Nandi. It's like $4 a night. It was super ghetto, like 20 dudes in one room. It was terrible. Had like the worst night of sleep of my life. And I met a cab driver who was like, hey, I got a guy. He runs boats out there. Maybe if you just give him gas, give him the $300 for gas money.
300.
He'll take you out there. And so I was like, look, how many days will $300 give me? He's like, you give me $300, I'll let you jump on the boat for a week. Each day I'll take you out. Because he was like, on weekends I got to go pick up the guests, paying guests. And he's like, I got a brother who's got a hammock you can sleep in.
Wow.
So I literally was like sleeping in a hammock, gave him the $300, had no money for food, no money for nothing. Met a local fisherman guy. He took me out hand lining, caught some Jarali, and was like, this was like the big end of my hurrah in my mind. This is the around the world trip, you know, not around the world, but like I made it to freaking Oz. I'm in Fiji. I'm going home broke. I did it.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, surfboards isn't going to work out.
Wow.
And that was like my quitting phase, you know?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I don't know, maybe 19 years old. And I go home and the guy took me. The funniest thing is I really want to go to Cloudbreak. And he takes me on the weekend. He takes me to he's like, we got to stop at Tavarua though, because I got to get the guests. And you got to sign off your name to go surf Cloudbreak, and then they'll take you out. And at the time, I've been in West Oz, sleeping in cars, fucking doing all this like kind of hardcore stuff, getting worked on reef break, all this stuff. I get there, and there's just like some SoCal bro guy with tattoos. Here I'm in Fiji, hanging out with the local guys. And he's like, hey, bro, you can't leave this plappa. Sit here. We're going to get you a guest list. I'm pretty sure it was Derek Dunphy, a young Derek Dunphy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's skinny, guy. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm friends with him now, actually, years later. But he was like fully like, you know, SoCal cool guy, which is what I couldn't stand at the time. I'm like, dude, you know what? It's like head high out there. I don't even want to surf there. Screw you guys. I'm going spearfishing. So I ended up like somehow, I don't know what I was thinking, but the local guy had a spear, like a pole spear or something. And I went and we'd spearfished like inside of all of that. I don't even know if that was even allowed or not, or who knows. And then ended up like, it's like, I needed food.
Yeah.
And we like spearfish and I think he got lobster and took it back to the hammock and ended up like cooking up fish and stuff. And was just like, dude, this is it. Like, this is the travel nomad. Went back home to the East Coast, broke as a joke, moved in with my brother. And I was just kind of like, felt like a little bit of okay, that was a good hurrah. I guess I got to get a real job now.
Wow.
And then I went to school, and I went to school in North Carolina, Southern North Carolina, and ended up meeting the local factory. And the whole time started building boards again.
Well,
we'll end it there.
Pause it there. And to be continued. That's a perfect cliffhanger anyways.
Traveling was definitely the goal, and that was the only goal. Traveling and surfing. And the surfboards, it was a time period where like it did pay for it all. And it did make okay money. And I still think any business you do, it's all about just, you got to be, it's like running a restaurant. It ain't going to be easy, but you got to run a tight ship, you know?
Yeah.